All right, so we're back to the very beginning. That's PAN 1.1. Whether you were here or not for it, it's easy. This one's all about exponents and the rules. There's a couple of rules. The first one's going to be multiplying them. Second would be dividing. Third, you got the power rule. And then the fourth thing is negative exponents. I'm just going to do a quick example of each one underneath, just so you know what they look like. When you're multiplying them, it's going to be some number times another one. All you're going to do is add the exponents. For division, it's going to be some number over another number. You're going to do top one minus the bottom. The power rule is going to be something probably in parentheses raised to another exponent. Then you just multiply the exponents. Doesn't matter if they're positive or negative, just do it every time. If you have a negative exponent, then you write it as 1 over that thing with a positive exponent instead. The negative just makes it 1 over, and then you get rid of the negative, and it's just a fraction. Okay, so I'll get more into multiplication. When you multiply them, that's what you're usually going to be doing. It's going to look a lot of different ways, but here's the main ones. You could have something like 2 to the 3 times 2 to the 5. That's going to be adding the exponents because it's multiplying. Get 2 to the 8. You could have something like this, where you got a number and then a number in parentheses. Still multiplication, so you're going to add the exponents. You could also, this is probably the weirdest way. You could have a number and then another number right next to it. The 5 by itself is going to count as a 1, so you just do 3 plus 1. And you'll end up with 5 to the 4th. You could type these into the calculator, but it's a lot easier to do these by hand. If you type it into the calculator, this one's going to get 256. This would be 729. This would be 625. It's not really that recognizable, so I'd suggest doing them by hand. It's really not that hard. The thing you can type into the calculator is the addition. No matter if it's positive or negative, doesn't really make a difference. Just do it like that every time. If you have letters, you're going to do it the same way. So you could have letters, something like b to the 3 times b to the 7. That's b to the 3 plus 7, which is b to the 10th. You could also have something with 2 letters. Really doesn't make a difference. So you're going to add the a's together. That's 2 plus 3, and you're going to add the b's together. That's 1 plus 2. I'm not going to write all that. It's over here on the left if you need it. Just make sure you look. Okay, that's about it for multiplying. Division is not much harder. Let's say we'll start with an easy one. It's going to be something like 7 to the 3 over 7. So you take the top power, which is 3, minus the bottom, which is 1, and you get 7 squared. I'm not going to write these in normal just because we're working on exponents. Here's a medium one. We'll say 5 to the 3 times 5 to the 4 over 5 to the 9. Add up the top, that's 5 to the 7. The bottom is 5 to the 9. And then it's back to an easy one. 5 to the 7 minus 9, which is 5 to the negative 2. You could rewrite that as 1 over 5 to the 2. I'll get more into that later. You don't want to deal with that right now. Here's a harder one. Maybe 2 to the 4th times 2 to the... Oh, let's not do 2. Let's say 5 to the 6 times 2 to the 3. Let's say that's over 2 to the 5 times 5. A lot of 5s. Okay. To do that, you're going to add up the 2's. On the top, there's 4 plus 3. That's 7. And then there's just 5 to the 6. On the bottom, there's nothing you can add together, so we're just going to rewrite that. Now you're going to do 2 division problems. The 2 is 2 to the 7 minus 5. The 5 is 5 to the 6 minus 1. When you subtract that, you get 2 to the 2, and then the 5 is 5 to the 5. Confusing? Good. All right, once again, if you have letters, it could be something like x to the 4th over x squared. Just take the top one minus the bottom one, put the letter back. If there's 2 letters, do it the same way as if there's 2 numbers. It's not any different unless you make it different. Don't do that, do it the same way. Okay, that's it for multiplication and division. Moving on to power rule. For the power rule, I would say these are easy questions. Just because they don't really take much time and they all look pretty much the same. So you're gonna have something in parentheses and then you're gonna have a power outside of it. You just do the exponents multiplied together. Even if it's a letter, doesn't matter. Put the letter, multiply the exponents. Okay. Maybe you got something with 2 letters, doesn't matter. We'll just say more letters over here. Maybe you got a squared times b, and they put a little 5 out there. So you're going to do a to the 2 times 5, which is 10, and then b to the 1 times 5, which is 5. Yeah, the rule is, I had it on the front. If you have a number out there, you multiply it. One that you might think is different, maybe you got something like b to the negative 2, and then on the outside is 6. I don't know. You do b to the negative 2 times 6. If you don't know what that is, it's just b to the negative 12. You could write that as 1 over b to the 12 if you want. That's a good question to lead on to the last thing, which is negative exponents. I'm just going to write negatives. So when you see negative exponents, you get them when you're working on problems sometimes. It'll just happen to you. Say you're working on a problem and it is something like this. Let's just do it all like 5 to the 9 times 5 to the negative 10. When you add those together, it's 5 to the 9 plus negative 10, which is 5 to the negative 1. And if it's 5 to the negative 1, you're going to write that as 1 over 5 to the 1. But really, we're just going to write that as 1 over 5 because you don't need to write the 1. So that's just an example of when you'd be working on a question and you run into a negative exponent. Same with some division problems. You're going to always do the top minus the bottom. So in this case, that's going to give you a negative 4. So you're going to write that as 1 over 3 to the 4. I can make that look better. Okay. If you have letters, it doesn't matter. You know, maybe you have a question with letters and you end up with negative. Oh well. So this one's 3 minus 8, and that's negative 5. You could also just write that as 1 over x to the 5th. So it's just a trick. Anytime you see a negative exponent, uh, anything to the negative is equal to 1 over whatever that is. Make sure you know all 4 of those rules. That's all you'll ever need to do with exponents. Email me if you got any questions. This is PAN11, the first one that we worked on.